Welcome back to the R6 Masterclass. Today I'm going to show you how to set up every single bomb site on Coastline. Now, this map is just a Rubik's Cube. It is just about fragging out pretty much. There's not much to Coastline. Now, how people set up sites here is typically done quite wrong, and there is some personal preference choices in where you put certain things and how you do certain things, like only reinforcing 3 out of the 4 walls here, so that way you can wall bang anyone dropping off of the roof to jump through either of these double windows. Now, what you can do is barricade both of these windows, or at least barricade one of them, or barricade this one and open up some slats on the bottom so you can cross peek and see anyone moving behind here. And if they do drop, you can wall bang through this wall over here, something that is quite useful. Now, if you are going to have someone playing in this area, you may want to open up the hatch so that way they can hear if they come in below, or have a place to escape. So again, having this hatch open can be beneficial, or have someone play here with a shotgun so they can open it at a time that they want. Now, the debris here just kind of did what it wants, but you kind of want your holes across this wall at this height. Potentially a little bit lower, but not so you can crouch through it. But the shotgun blast was just far enough away to open this one up just a little bit too much. But you want this kind of not crouch hole, but not feet holes, because that way if they open up the wall, they also need to open up this to then move through it, and it makes it very, very difficult for the person to do so. But again, if the debris is opened up too low, it needs to be about this height, they can just walk over it. That way, it is very difficult for them to get into this space and hit the default plant. Placing barbed wire in this area can somewhat slow down that default plant. Playing castle on this site can be useful, but it's kind of pointless. If you're going to castle this window, it's just going to get opened. Now, you do want to reinforce this wall. Open up head holes on this side. You do want a head hole that is opened up flush with the reinforcement like this, so that way you can peek off onto the balcony and even hold really tight pixels. You do want a crouch hole. Opening this hatch, again, is personal preference. If you can have someone playing in this area, you may want this hatch open so they can drop down. But again, if you are going to do that, you do need someone downstairs in Sunrise to control that area so they don't just peek up the hatch and take the person off of this swing. You want to reinforce the left and right side of this single door so you have spaces to play. And if you are going to play a mirror, placing it on these walls, or one mirror down and then using another mirror somewhere else, which is, we can get onto that in a minute. But you do want a crouch rotation on this side. Now, you want the crouch rotation to start in line with the top step. Otherwise, you're going to have to come up and then get a vault prompt to get in, and it's a little bit messy. But that way, you can easily flow through. Now, some people even open up holes here, which I wouldn't recommend, because if someone has to peek the stairs, they will then end up getting exposed to the door if they are standing up, which is what they want to do, so they can crouch away from a gunfight, limiting what the person downstairs can see by taking their head away from the gunfight. Some people open up holes across this. I personally prefer to leave it solid so they don't get sightlines in until they start shooting the wall open. That way you can just come and wall bang out into the hallway. Now, if you do want to reinforce one of these two walls, that means that you do lose reinforcements from over in VIP. Now, reinforcing this wall is almost a must-have done. Opening feet holes on this is an optional. Now, if you're not going to play VIP, you don't need to reinforce either of these walls or even this wall, and then you can reinforce off this wall and just turn this hallway into a giant trap haven. You know, you can put some Fenrirs down in here, barbed wire down. Another really strong spot for a Fenrir is placed facing upwards on this, so when they come up the stairs, it triggers when it's a little bit too late for them to do anything about it. Now, if you are playing mirror, you can play another mirror on this wall and really, really hold down the master bedroom. Alright, now we're moving on to kitchen. We want to make sure these 3 walls are reinforced with feet holes. If you want an extra reinforcement upstairs, it technically comes off of this wall, and we'll get to that in a minute. Make sure you break out the radio and beer bottles here. You can also remove a lot of this crap on the kitchen side with bullets. That way you will have easier sightline onto the door. Now, the window is a point that needs to have some sort of ADSs and time plus area denial, or just time denial or area denial. Depends on what you want. Frost mats can work here, but a Malusi or a Goyo can be very, very strong. I personally prefer the Malusi just because it's something that doesn't need to be manually triggered. If you do want to run a Goyo, then you may want to consider running a Maestro, so you can use a Maestro cam to pop a Goyo over in this area. You also probably want an ADS somewhere over in this corner to catch grenades flying across and put the Malusi over this side, somewhere around here, as far away from the window as possible, so when they jump in, they have to be looking the complete opposite way from where you can be swinging them. Now, you are going to want a head hole on this wall, followed by a small crouch hole, and this wall reinforced, and you do want this triple wall reinforced. Now, again, with these beer bottles, remove them. These are just annoying because they like to eat bullets. Now, with that removed, you can freely spray through the wall. Playing a castle can be quite useful, but an Azami is extremely useful on this site, and playing someone with a deployable shield around here so the person can play nice and tucked up, can swing either side of the bomb and even the pixel as they see fit. Now, you will want something to electrify this wall. Bandit can be quite useful as he has that C4. Typically won't see Kaid getting banned, so you can bring a Kaid if you really want. Electrify these 3 walls, and then do a Kaid Claw somewhere around here, I believe. In and around these areas, you can get both the walls upstairs, making it harder for the people trying to take the vertical space. Damn vase. And also barricading this window. Another thing is just, if you have the time and a shotgun or a Tachonka, just rip open the bottom of this wall, makes the attackers less likely to want to sit and hang around in blue bar and drone, and it makes them very uncomfortable with that space, meaning that if they want to drone, they're doing it from the administrator office. And because of that difference in space, it can mean that they can be a little bit more uneasy and play a little bit more erratic in this area. And also barricade off this window. If you need to maneuver in this hallway, having this window barricaded can be very, very helpful. Knock out the entire bottom line, knife it twice, so that way you can come and vault through this if you need to in a late round situation. Again, if you're playing castle, you can castle this door and this door to cut off these annoying angles, but then it also stops someone from being at the top of white stairs and wall banging into this room, which can be quite useful. We definitely need both of these walls reinforced regardless. We do not want to give them VIP control. This is another reinforcement that's quite essential to then play into the master bedroom, and then you also have a rotate if you need to. Again, if you have castle and you have 3 castles upstairs, you can also put one on this door if you wanted to. But again, if you play a Zami here, you can just Azami barricade here, which would mean that you don't need the castle. You could even barricade off this door, or even throw an Azami barricade on this wall so you can play in and behind this without getting wall banged on the diagonal. Another thing that you really do need to do is open up the holes here so it makes them drop in hatch. Again, something that's going to be quite annoying. They have to be sporadic, run into here, and then they're going to run into effectively a kill box. Another thing you want to do is open this hatch so it's hard for them to come over here and place down a thermite charge to open up the wall. I think you could probably still do it with other hard breaching charges, but thermite is typically the one that would be used to open up a big portion of this wall. Okay, so for the setup in theatre, we want to start off over in theatre side actually, and reinforce both of these walls at the back. This singular will open up feet holes. If castle is available, playing a castle here can be very, very beneficial, especially if you put down a Jaeger ADS over here, a Wamai, even a Malusi, some barbed wire in this hallway. This hallway control for the enemy is the last thing you want them to have. So using castle to make taking this space very, very difficult can be useful. Now we also want to reinforce this wall. We do want a small rotation over here, something that can be utilized, especially when you can see all the way through. If they don't take any control of this space, you can use that to assist into the white hallway. This rotation will only be here if you have someone playing a deployable shield, which I can highly recommend. You can also have a Jaeger ADS placed over here somewhere to really start denying it. Now, you can open the hatch if you want, but again, it's personal preference. It depends if you want an escape route out of sight. And if not, you can just leave this wall soft or even place an Azami barricade on this wall to give it a bit more cover, and you can still have a rotation. Now, again, deployable shield here is very, very functional. If you are playing castle this door. If not, you can just barricade it normally or leave it open. That's really dependent on your personal preferences, I do suppose. Now, it's really important we extend into VIP. We need this wall reinforced in case they do get that hallway control over here. That way they cannot directly wall bang in. We want the feet holes so they don't want to sit and lurk around here. And then we want to castle both of these doors so we can swing out and defend this space. Now, again, this is one of those that you could just castle off this door, but we don't want to completely block off sight. Unfortunately, we kind of need to a certain degree, have a castle barricade here, just because we do not want them swinging and peeking the sight. But again, you can move this castle barricade to this door if you feel like that is necessary, or even place it over here on another door, just so you can really roam this top floor area a little bit better. And you also do need both the VIPs reinforced and being bandit tricked. Otherwise, they're really going to just close in this control very quickly and take this space. Again, you do need the feet holes for the hatch drop. For this site, you will need at least, at a minimum, a Jaeger, either a deployable shield or a Zami. Mute's also a very strong pick just for denying their drones as much as you can, because there is so many points, or even a Mozzie, something with C4, because you can have pre-placed C4s, maybe even a pulse playing below to really slow them down, making sure that they have to go clear that out. The site is very easy to take and very easy to hold. Another thing you can do is break the TV and place stuff on this wall underneath the TV. And Malusi over here would be very, very strong. Again, and Malusi also in this music hall can be very, very useful. Welcome to the Sunrise Pocket Strat site setup. Potentially here you do really want to castle off this door. Open up big holes across the entire wall. Now, you are going to want a vaultable rotation over here and the same over here, if that piece of wood wasn't there. And you are going to need to reinforce both of these walls, at least this wall. And if you really feel like you need it, you can also reinforce this wall, but leaving it soft is probably best. Castle this door, feet holes across half of this wall, reinforce both of these walls, reinforce one of these walls, feet holes here. And then we can pretty much move on to the upstairs portion. This is like one of the worst potential sites to have to defend in the game. It's very, very difficult. You do want a rotation, this wall and this wall reinforced, and then both of these walls, head holes. Again, another head hole into a rotation, and also some vertical play so you can shoot down onto the door. I ran out of shotgun shells to open this part. And if you really want, you can open up that weird crouch height kind of ish feet hole thing, but again, I would just leave this soft and castle both of these doors. Again, we're really trying to buy time. We definitely would need to run an Azami up here to play this area. Thank you for watching this masterclass. As always, there are some more site setup videos popping up, and even some operator masterclasses for improving that individual operator's skill. If not, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.